dropped in another go-around of Soccer's morning show. Soccer down here, John here, you there. And it's Black Friday. So since it is Thanksgiving-ish, Black Friday, coming up Cyber Monday, opening kickoff is going to kind of go through the whole show. And it'll be, all right, so how was it? What was on the table? How was traffic? All those kinds of things. So what was your Thanksgiving like? Although I do recall Ricky Ricardo proclaiming a national emergency because apparently his mother did not make macaroni and cheese for the first time in the modern era. So let me know how it was. Mine was mostly on the road. Spent most of my time. I spent more time in the car than I did at the actual event. And the way that transpires is the family goes and we meet in Montgomery. So it's my wife's family, and it's a common point. And so drive 2.5 hours, and they'll drive an hour, and we meet in Montgomery at my brother-in-law's place. And there were about a dozen of us there, and had a little bit of football and started a little bit of basketball, but mostly it was football and watching. Now, this was a stat that I didn't know. And this was the weirdest thing I'd seen. Apparently, in this lunar phase, waxing gibbous, I think is what it is. And I saw this stat, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. In this particular lunar phase, the Detroit Lions are winless. In their history of histories, the Detroit Lions going into yesterday were winless. So what happens? They lost. They were 0-12 in this lunar phase on Thanksgiving Day. Now they're 0-13. And so that was just one of the weirdest things that I had seen. And sure enough, it came to pass. I don't know what it is about this particular lunar cycle that affects the Detroit Lions as much as it does, but they got affected yesterday and lost to Green Bay. But yeah, tell me how your Halloween, your Thanksgiving. Tell me how your Thanksgiving was. And let me know about shopping today. Are you a Black Friday, Cyber Monday individual, or are you like me when you sit there and you see a special in March, you hang on to it for 9 months? Let me know. And we'll get into that. We'll get into all of that this morning. Get into shopping, get into food, get into Thanksgiving, get into all of the family stuff and in-laws and things that drove you crazy, and we'll get into all of that. So that's part of what's going on today. Obviously, we're back at it this weekend with activity in Major League Soccer. For those of you that missed it yesterday, it's up on the network. We got to catch up with Nico Moreno, and we got Nico's thoughts on the 4 matches that are this weekend. Saturday belongs to the Eastern Conference. Sunday belongs to the Western Conference in Major League Soccer. So we'll have our weekend whip around. Patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. That'll be a part of the show. And also, Prem and Proper is going to be released later today. But we've got to get into what's going on Manchester City and Liverpool. That's the marquee matchup. And so, of course, it's the early game on Saturday. So none of us will be awake unless we are heading to our rivalry games in college football. And then Manchester City Liverpool starts. We'll get into that. There's news in the Premier League because today is the day of press conferences and things like that. And so take the whip around and let you know what the coaches are saying about their teams, about players, and getting ready for all the big matchups and all that kind of stuff. Thanks to everybody this morning who put up with me. And there's four DP rumors too. We'll get into that possibly. All of that activity is here, so we'll get into that. And thanks to everybody who was listening this morning. Once my phone decided to behave, was on with Greg Clarkson and Jason this morning on 92.9 The Game, talking as one of the other versions of me. And it was talking a little high school football. Obviously tonight, time for the promo there. 7:30 is Colquitt County at Milton on Georgia Public Broadcasting. So once again, I apologize. This is what I look like without makeup and a suit. That'll be later today. So this is the round of 8 in the 8 championships. So we have the field of 64 that is left after tonight. It will be the round of 32. It will be the class semifinals next week. and then it's the class finals. Remember, it's not the weekend for the finals themselves. It is not the week immediately after the SEC championship game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It is the week in. It is the 11th, 12th, and 13th, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday following. So it's a week and a half after the SEC championship, so they can have the activity at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at Mercedes-Benz, and that'll be fun. But yeah, tonight it is 7A on GPB, all the GPB platforms. It is Colquitt County visiting the Eagles Nest in Milton tonight. A little after 7:30, Hannah Gooden and I will be indoors. It'll be Matt Wayne and Nikki outdoors, and so it'll be getting everybody ready for what is going on there in high school football. But no, thanks to everybody who was reaching out this morning and sitting there going, "What are you doing awake so early?" And once again, my phone finally behaved because I had to dial out. I don't know why. Because traditionally, radio stations, they'll call you. And so 92.9 was calling me, and literally they called me like 4 times. And I'm staring at my phone. Waiting to hop on with Greg and Jason. And the phone's not ringing. And then Jason sends me a message. It's like, dude, what's up with your phone? It goes to voicemail. I'm like, I don't know. I'm staring right at it. And so then I dialed in, and then we got the segment going. So once again, thanks to everybody who was hanging out this morning, listening to high school football stuff. So there's a lot there. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about this morning. Most of it's outside of this country. A lot of it's in the Premier League. Once again, we talked about Manchester City and Liverpool, and it's going to be an interesting weekend across the board. So before we get any deeper into the weekend, outside of what's going on, let's just go ahead and dive right into our friends in the Major League Soccer. We got 4 games to talk about, so let's get right into weekend whip around. Patent pending trademark coming sooner, hopefully rather than later. And we'll get into, since we're past Thanksgiving. Wow, what are we now? I guess it's Christmas, maybe Christmas treats or snacks, because traditionally we go I don't know, because if we're after Thanksgiving, we can't do Thanksgiving side dishes. So we'll figure it out. But it's like, what's on the plate now since we're past Thanksgiving and heading toward Christmas? That's the biggest question. So, all right, let's get into our weekend whip around tomorrow. Wasting no time. It is, and all 3 of the 4 matches are exclusively on Season Pass. The 2 Eastern Conference games on Saturday and the late game on Sunday are exclusively on Season Pass. The early game, Houston and Kansas City, gets the big Fox treatment, FS1 Deportes, and Season Pass to go along with Apple TV. But we'll get your juice boxes here with Orlando and Columbus, and with it is 18-7-9 hosting 16-9-9, and the juice box numbers here, they're kind of all over the place, and this is why we take the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal, and then we'll sit there and it's like, yeah, okay, that's your average. But the juice boxes with this one they've changed a decent bit with the games on Saturday in the Eastern Conference. Orlando City in the composite is now a plus 120. Your 90-minute draws a plus 265 and Cruz a plus 204. Hutch gets the early line of the day, by the way. Hutch says that American plumbers refer to the day after Thanksgiving as Brown Friday. Thank you, Hutch. Yes. I wish I had a rim shot because that would work really well. Juice boxes, Orlando City plus 120, 90-minute draws a plus 264, and Crew is a plus 204. So in this one, we have fun facts. First meeting between Orlando City and Columbus in the playoffs. Only previous knockout match between the sides was when Orlando joined Major League Soccer, 5th round of the 2015 U.S. Open Cup. 2-0 home win for Orlando City. Purple teams won 8 of its last 10 against the Crew, drawing 1 and losing 1, including winning all 6 in Orlando in that time. 6-match run is Orlando's longest ever home MLS winning streak over any opponent, and the Crew's longest road MLS losing streak against any opponent in 20 years. City has won 6 straight matches dating back to the regular season, including its 2-match sweep of Nashville in the first round, equaling the club's longest ever winning streak, 6 straight, 2018. Only team of the 5 previous that entered an MLS Cup playoffs match on a 6-match win streak, including breakaway shootout wins, to win the following match. I wouldn't have even guessed this. It's the friggin' Tampa Bay Mutiny from 1996. Would not have guessed that. Would not have guessed that. Columbus won both matches, but lost their home match against Atlanta United in the first round of the MLS Cup playoffs. Crew have won each of their last 7 home playoff matches, but have not won any of their last 16 road playoff matches dating back to 2002, drawing 5, including 2 penalty shootout wins, losing 11 of them. The longest road playoff winless run in MLS history. Purple team has kept 5 clean sheets in their last 6 matches after keeping just 6 in its previous 34 in all comps. Orlando held Nashville without a goal in both meetings in the first round, could become the 5th team in MLS history and the first since Seattle in 2017 to open a postseason with 3 straight clean sheets. Diego Rossi and Alexander Matan each had a goal and an assist in the 4-2 win over Atlanta in Game 3 of the first round. When was that? Back in October. They're the third pair of Crew teammates to each record a goal and an assist in a playoff match, and the first since Ola Kamara and Justin Miram against NYC in 2017. Did not have that one. Did not have that. Last 3 matches, Orlando beat Columbus 4-3 in a crazy one back in September. May 13th, Columbus and Orlando drew at 2, and then it was October 9th of 22. Orlando beat Columbus 2-1. Traditionally, when it comes to morning, Sharif, when it comes to these sides, Columbus, they want the ball, averaging about 56% possession. Orlando gets it about half the time. More shots per 90 minutes for Columbus at 14.8 compared to 12.3. Shots on target, obviously more for Columbus, 5.4 to 4.3. Blocks, a little more in Columbus's favor at 3.9. More passes total, higher passing accuracy by about 4%, hovering in the mid-80s. And corners, about 5 to 4 or 5.5 to 5. Duels won on average, mostly it's and by the skinniest of margins, it's Orlando. Columbus wins more tackles on average, more saves for Schulte on average than Galese. Orlando more clearances tremendously, 17 to 12 on average. Fouls 11.5 to basically 11.4 to 11.2. Yellows, it is slightly more toward our friends in Orlando than it is in Columbus. So when we look at the we got to look at the officiating crew here so we can kind of get an idea as to what in the wide world of sports is going on. And we'll add the context here with this group. John Freeman, the man in the middle for Orlando City and Columbus. Jeremy Hansen and Chantal Boudreau are your ARs. Fotis Bazakos is your 4th. Timothy Ford is your VAR. TJ Zablocki is your AVAR. God bless you, everyone. Timothy Ford and TJ Zablocki. So Timothy Ford, your VAR. Once again, I'm just reading the information. These are the assignments by pro. Timothy Ford is your VAR. And so we'll keep an eye on that. Then we'll keep an eye on that as well. Sorry, I'm having to do a little bit of doing some multitasking. So hang on just a second. All right, there we go. I think I got that figured out. All right, so once again, Timothy Ford, your VAR, John Freeman's the man in the middle. And you look at, and we know if we're talking about things from an Atlanta perspective, we know Columbus ahead of time. You know what you're getting in Columbus. And they seem to be a better team defensively with Julian Gressel on the bench. Does Wilfred Nancy stick to that idea? and have Gressel on the bench and coming off of the bench and working with the rotation that he had last time out against Atlanta in Game 3 of that series. Orlando, I know that we're all drawn to the man in the net with Gillespie, but it will be interesting with both of these offenses and seeing how they respond. So, now as I'm talking my way through this, so we get into the numbers, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a peek at the total. Yes, imagine being an AVAR. You sit there and you tap him on the shoulder. Sir? Yeah, Hutch is on it this morning. Imagine being an video assistant referee. Yes. I'm an assistant to the video assistant. So that's like 3 steps removed, even though it sounds like it's 3 steps removed when it's really not. Yes, I'm the AVAR. I mean, how many times, legitimately, I'd like to know the empirical evidence, and I don't know if we ever have it. How many times the AVAR finds a piece of information that causes something to change in the mind of the VAR? I'm just genuinely curious. I mean, like I said, I have no empirical evidence about this. You tap him on the shoulder. Excuse me, sir. Are you a part of an earnest conversation? I mean, the life of an AVAR. I mean, that would be really interesting. It's like, do you have earnest conversations? Do you stand there? Are personalities different? What do you do when you're an AVAR? That to me is, what's the life of an AVAR? Do you just sit there and, just look at things? Or are you an earnest part of the conversation? Or does it vary with the AVAR and the relationship they have with VAR? It just, I'm playing all these scenarios out in my head. Totals. Thinking that these offenses are what they are, I'm thinking this might go over the total. Considering what we know from Columbus and what we have from Orlando. So everything is on the minus side till you get to 3. 3 is when it flips from minus to plus in your juice boxes. 3 is a plus 112. 3.5 is a plus 179. I could see something 2-2-ish. So I'll take the over at plus 179. So that's when things get a little big. But yeah, so I'll take the over at 3.5 at plus 179. So that's what I'll stare at with this one. I think this one could have a lot of fireworks. I don't know if it goes past 90 minutes, but I think it does. I think you do end up having a lot. I think you might have a lot of offensive chances. Will Columbus be clinical on the road? Because we know how tough Columbus is. Columbus is a dangerous team right now. Does Oscar Pareja become more, does he become more pragmatic? And I mean that in the more negative connotation of the word. Does he become more defensive oriented? Does he sit back and sit there and it's like, okay, I know these waves are going to be coming at me when it comes to the offensive Columbus? Do I just sit back and try to work things on the counter? I think McGuire gets one for Orlando at the very least. I think that probably some combination of Cucho and Matan get 2. They get 1 each to get at least 2 on the board for Columbus. I think Gillespie gets challenged. I wonder how, as the game goes on, considering it's a one-off, does someone like Patrick Schulte, does he start to feel the weight of the situation? That's what sticks in my head. The weight of the situation here for younger players. Does Schulte feel that weight later on? I think Columbus gets it done. And I think it might take a while. So what I'll do is I'll take, and once again, as I sit there and say this, let me know what you're thinking about the weekend as well. Let me know what's on your mind when it comes to all of the activity and what we talk about and how it continues to work its way forward. And there's a point that I want to make with refs after this match. And it's kind of be a sidebar, kind of a news of the day thing. Plus 264. I'll take the plus 264. I'll take the over at 3.5 and the plus 264. I think it'll go a while. So the reason I was talking about, and the next time that we have Bart on, I want to get into these issues. And like we might be drifting in and out from Premier League ideas to MLS ideas as we go here. But Paul McInnes over at The Guardian. This is the headline. Howard Webb urges VAR officials to intervene more often on soft penalties. VARs in England have been urged to speak out on soft, in quotation marks, penalties by encouraging on-pitch officials to review their decision even if an error is not clear and obvious. That, reading it this way, we'll go through the article, but that sounds like a dangerous precedent. That sounds like a dangerous precedent. So the article continues. The new advice from the referee's chief, Howard Webb, follows a succession of controversial penalty incidents in the Premier League in Europe. It is understood VAR officials were told on Wednesday, well, at least Howard Webb did it before Thanksgiving, the chief refereeing officer of the Professional Game Match Officials Limited, PGMOL, they should feel able to draw a referee's attention to penalty decisions made after challenges that involve only minimal contact. Recent examples of such incidents involve penalties awarded against Wolves in 2 matches against Newcastle and Sheffield United, with the former resulting in the demotion of referee Anthony Taylor to the championship for a game week. Wolves manager Gary O'Neill suggested the game was in a crazy place, quotation marks, when he described the penalty that led to Sheffield United grabbing a late 2-1 win over his team at Bramall Lane this month after a challenge by Fabio Silva on George Baldock. Now, that particular challenge to me was a penalty. Silva on Baldock, and he goes, and we'll go to the quotes in a second, but that to me was a penalty. Fabio Silva, if you remember, after it happened, inconsolable after the fact. But I thought it was a penalty. I thought that the Fabio Silva contact on Baldock was a penalty. I thought that it was deserved. So, quoting O'Neill, Fabio's shin pad probably grazes Baldock's calf. All right. I'm going to go through this, and then what we'll do is I'll go back and walk through the incident. I'll find it on video. We'll walk through this. We'll workshop this. Fabio's shin pad probably grazes Baldock's calf. And they also know that this is, manager protecting a player. I get it. I've watched it loads of times, and there's minimal contact. And if we're giving fouls for that, there would have been a million fouls in that football match. I'm honestly lost. I don't know where to go with it. I'm told to go in and have a sensible conversation, but he still watched it, telling me it's a penalty, which tells me we're in a crazy place. The new recommendations were made at a meeting of refs and officials. Interaction between managers and officials was also on the agenda, with referees reminded of the importance of issuing yellow cards for dissent after a sharp increase in the number of incidents in managers' technical areas this season. According to PGMOL statistics, instances of dissent among players have more than doubled this term, 347 incidents compared with 165 at the same stage last season. Dissent among managers and staff has grown even more quickly, with numbers nearly quadrupling from 35 to 126. Refs have also been told they should respond forcefully to players waving an imaginary card in an attempt to get an opponent booked, with the sanction of a yellow card encouraged. Okay, so what we're gathering here is that if you sit there and you're calling for a card and you're the player and you sit there and you have that imaginary card in your hand and you go waving the card in the center ref's face, that you should be getting a yellow in turn. And I'm fine with that. First and foremost, you're not supposed to get into a ref's grill. I feel like we're kind of evolving into an episode of reffing down here. So when next time Bart comes on, we'll go through all of this again. But you're waving the imaginary card. First off, you're getting in a ref's grill and you're not wearing the armband. Second, then you want to take an imaginary card and sit there and wave it in front of an official's face. I'm all for it. Seriously, Treat it like it's a blackjack dealer. Bang, 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 bang. You're in my face, yellow. In my face, yellow. In my face, yellow. In my face, yellow. Pick up the imaginary card, sit there, and you're trying to tell me how to do my job? To an extent, I can understand, players wanting to do that, and I would let that go probably a little more than the average bear. But, yeah, I mean, if a dude's doing it a lot during a match, or if he's doing it and he's really getting in my grill and he's violating my space, I'd be sitting there and it's like, bruh, first time we talk about this? First time we rock and roll? I'm going to let you do it. You keep getting in my grill, we're done. Then you get a card. But, no, I'm all for it. I'm all for the notion of, sitting there and giving folks cards for getting in my face. All right, so now the instance in question. All right, so let's go back. Fabio Silva Wolves. I'm doing the search. So Fabio Silva, blah, blah, blah. West Brom. They're just showing the goals. All right, so then let's do this. So let's go Wolves, Sheffield United. All right, Wolves, Sheffield United penalty. Stoppage time penalty, Ollie Norwood. Okay, so, and I'm going to have to do this quick, at least with my ears. All right, so, yeah, so I'm going to go back. We'll workshop this, and trust me as I go with all of the words here. And so, Wolves and Sheffield United. All right, so Fabio Silva goes in. It's immediately called. So Sheffield United doesn't, they don't make a meal of it on the video. And then Ollie Norwood makes the penalty, and that's the end of this. All right, so I need a longer version of that. I need a longer version of the Ollie Norwood penalty. All right, so I'm thinking, all right, so let's go back. Most of this highlight package has to do with the Fabio Silva. Okay. All right. So off a corner, headed up into the air, control, and I'm staring at VAR. All right, VAR's got the long shot up. We're having discussions. And this was a downpour, by the way. And this was at like 98. This literally was like 90, 96, 97 when this was happening. So, all right. So Silva loses control of the ball. And then as he's going in the second time, it looks like he makes – all right, so the right foot – playing it back, and it looks like the right foot, the right cleat steps on the Sheffield United player. Doesn't get anything on the ball. And it looks like as he's reaching around Baldock, he steps on the foot on the instep. And that's where VAR was looking at everything. So what I'll do as a public service, I will show you where I was looking at it from. Okay. So I've put in the Twitch pitch for those of you who are watching where I was watching it from, just so you guys can look at it too and sit there and see what I was seeing. I thought Fabio Silva he's reaching around Baldock's right-hand side, steps on Baldock's instep. As he's trying to get the ball, gets the instep first. Steps on him. To me, it's a penalty. And there's a bit of scraping, but still on the same side. You still get activity from Fabio Silva. I thought it was a penalty. And the fact it was at 90 plus 6 makes it that much more impactful. I mean, I'm not looking at the clock, mind you, but just the idea of Silva doing it when he did. And it took more than 2 minutes to review. 2.5, I think, on the review. But I still think Fabio Silva plays in the Twitch pitch for those of you that want to listen, want to watch. I thought it was a penalty. Silva's reaching around. He ends up stepping on Baldock with his right cleat on his instep. I thought it was a penalty. So there we go. Yeah, I know. Kefsey, yeah, it's important. Just brandishing cards and saying, get out of my face. No players left after that first defense scatter shot. David, football needs to go to an NHL model with a captain and an assistant captain. Anyone approaching the ref for more than an "are you serious" type of reaction needs a yellow. The arguing is dumb. Same in PKs. Anyone in the box 5 seconds after a penalty is confirmed gets carded. Antics need to stop. So remind me once again when Bart comes back in the next time on Wednesday at 10:30 that we discuss this specifically, crowding, cards, and this idea that Howard Webb wants folks to look at things that might be soft. So, all right, so Gary O'Neill, once again, the video's there. Video's there for you to watch. Fabio Shinped probably grazes Baldock's calf. That might be true, but Fabio's cleat steps on Baldock's instep as he's going around him. So I know Gary O'Neill is sticking up for his players here. I get that. You're supposed to do that. But I think, once again, as we all look at it, I think that Gary O'Neill is saying what he's saying to protect his player. And remember that there's also a part of that in this, too. It was a clumsy challenge from Fabio Silva. Correct. Kefsey, I'm with you. Clumsy challenge. PK is correct. I thought it was a clumsy challenge. Reaching around onto the instep, penalty. But the idea now that VAR have been urged to speak out on soft penalties. In the Fabio Silva case, and the Guardian actually has the still of, I think, might have been just after when Silva has gone over the cleat of George Baldock. Encouraging on-pitch officials to review their decision even if an error is not clear and obvious. I thought that that's what VAR was supposed to be for. It was supposed to be for clear and obvious assessments. But go over and take a peek at it even if it's not clear and obvious. You might be opening up a Pandora's box here. You might be opening up a Pandora's box. The Premier League and the PGMOL sitting there thinking, maybe we need to look at something. You might be opening up the door a little too big. Just saying. So, all right. So encouraging VARs to say, hey, you might want to go look at this. And I also know that at the same time, I would put a time limit on looking at something. Kefsey says that's a Chope versus Miami call. It's frustrating, but you understand it in the moment. I would put a time limit, 2 minutes, 2.5 maybe, on looking at a call. Because the more that we look at a call, the longer that we take, the more I think you're looking for something instead of reinforcing something or trying to do an instant reversal. I think the more that you're looking at something, the more that you're trying to find something as opposed to solidify an opinion. So I think what we need is a time clock or something akin to that. You put a clock in the low corner, and if you haven't found it by 2.5 minutes, then you've taken too long. You got to get back out there. I mean, I know that it will probably force officials to sit there and have conversations where you're hoping that the modifiers are correct each and every time. But I think you've got to have a time limit on these things. You go over to the monitor and you're sitting there and it's like, okay, rewind it. Nope. Rewind it. Nope. Rewind it. Nope. The more that you're looking at something, the longer the time that you're taking, the more that you're trying to find something. At least that's my perspective in all of this. So what have we decided today? Now that we've fixed the problems, time clock, Pandora's box. Yes. Hutch is like, we'll need an assistant, timekeeping assistant. Someone with a clock to just sit there and hit a button and go, think, and You're holding the watch up, or you're holding the time clock. You sit there and you start your clock. Maybe another one of those big Hue block clocks. You sit there and you just hit it and you start it and it just starts rolling. Like the red hat at the SEC games, who has the buck and a quarter staff that's got the time clock on top of it. Have it, go down from 2.5 minutes. Started at 2.5 minutes, hit play, and it goes down from 2.5 minutes. And the guy literally is like a shepherd in a field with his flock. He puts it down, counts down from 2.5 minutes, and it just continues. Kefsey, correct. Sponsored by Bugatti, Seiko, and Rolex. Air horns. See, air horns would be great. Air horns would be fantastic. If you have an assistant, timekeeping assistant, goes out there and he's got the buck and a quarter staff and he smashes it into the ground. Clock starts at 2.5 minutes. Then you have the guy on the PA sit there and go, 1 minute remaining in the review, 1 minute. Morning, D. Graham. And you get to the 1 minute, and then the PA guy sits there and he counts down from 10, like they do in college soccer and high school soccer on the PA. You count down 10, 9, all the way through, and then you hit 0. Then you get air horn. Then you're done. Correct. Sharif. More time that you look at something, the less the notion that clear and obvious is applicable to the review. And this is what I'm getting into with the idea of, go ahead and look at it. Howard Webb, once again, I want to get the words here. Understood by Howard Webb that they should be able to draw a referee's attention to penalty decisions made after challenges that involve only minimal contact. Review their decision even if an error is not clear and obvious. Hutch, simpler when the coaches told us that if we talked back to the refs that the coach would take us out of the game. See? So you got that. But to Sharif's point, once again, reinforcing what we've been talking about here. The more time you look at something, the less the notion that clear and obvious is applicable to the review. Where the VAR and the AVAR are telling the center ref, hey, you might want to go look at this. He goes over and looks under the concept that it might not be clear and obvious anyway. And then what you're doing is, are you not convoluting it that much more by sitting there? You send the official over. If you're VAR and you send the official over to take a peek at something soft that might not be clear and obvious, but the idea of VAR was to sit there and say, hey, you might want to look at this because it might be clear and obvious. You've now gone HAL 9000 here. As we walk through this, you now have conflicting instruction. And correct me if I'm wrong in interpreting it this way. You now have conflicting instruction for the purposes of VAR. The idea was to look at something clear and obvious. Hey, you might want to take a peek at it. You might want to go from a yellow to a red. You might want to, go from nothing to a card. You might want to go from possible penalty to penalty. You might want to go from offside to not offside, goal allowed, goal disallowed, those kinds of things. But you've now gone from the idea of VAR chasing after something. You buzz down, center ref, hey, take a peek at this. We think that this should change. We think it should be different. You've now gone from that idea to buzzing down to your center ref, hey, take a peek at this, even if it's not clear and obvious. But I thought the idea of a reversal was for something clear and obvious. Now you're widening the parameters of VAR here. And I would posit that literally you could make games longer than they are now. And I know that folks are complaining because games are longer now than they have been because of all the reviews and such. Now that you're widening the responsibilities of VAR, you could be making you could be making things a lot longer than they're making things longer because you're reviewing more and more things. So you're looking at, for me, like I said, I think that you might be opening the door that much wider to longer games, more delays by widening the parameters of VAR and the notifications. So like I said, that's just my interpretation of all of this. I think you're widening the door a little too much. You're going from clear and obvious to, hey, take a peek at this because it's not clear and obvious. We think it might be in the margins somewhere. Just saying. D. Graham, VAR doesn't contact center ref unless he and the AVAR agree. So we do have conversations between the AVAR and the VAR. The referee refusing is BS. But no, I just think that the idea of Howard Webb sitting there going to the PGMOL and going, guys, you might want to sit there and take a peek at these if it's soft too. If it's not clear and obvious. But Gary O'Neill told us about Fabio Silva. We looked at it. We all walked through it. I thought it was a clumsy challenge. It should have been it should have been a penalty. But I get why Gary O'Neill was doing what Gary O'Neill was doing. I get it. I understand it completely. But I still think that you're opening the door if you're Howard Webb. I think you're opening the door just a little too much. Just a thought. Once again, I welcome yours. Lay them all out here. And on the cards idea, apparently the Premier League is on a course for a record number of Reds. 30 sendings off in 380 matches. After 120 matches this year, you're already at 27. Second fewest red cards last year in Premier League history on average, 45.5 dismissals, an average of 45.5 for the last 4 years. Rate of Reds continued. They'll be 85 this season, league record 76 in 05-06. Figures have generally dropped in recent times. 2014-2015, 71 Reds, calmed from 18-19 to 21-22 to where you're in the 40s before last season's drop. Referees instructed to clamp down on time wasting and dissent, which can explain some of the increase in yellow cards to a record at this stage of 552. Will Unwin makes the point. James Trafford was booked in the 11th minute of Burnley's match against Nottingham Forest for delaying a free kick. 27 sendings off, 12 for violent conduct or serious foul play. The other coming when Joe Worrell was deemed to have committed a professional foul. 5 have been a result of the intervention of VAR. Opening night, Burnley's Anas Zaroury needed to be sent off in injury time for a lunge at Kyle Walker. Malo Gusto, Christian Romero, Curtis Jones, Lyle Foster, and who's also from Burnley, had joined Zaroury in falling foul of the cameras. Ref forced to listen to the voice in his ear before dishing out the punishment. Last season, VAR led to 6 red cards. System is yet to overturn a red this year. Not even Alexis's sending off against Bournemouth, which got an appeal and a rescission. Last season, VAR helped 3 players stay on the pitch, Gabriel, Kieran Trippier, and Hakim Ziyech. One reason for the drop in Reds last season, officials permitted to show greater leniency over aggressive tackles. So last year, you show greater leniency over aggressive tackles. This year, Howard Webb is saying take a peek at VAR for things that might be soft. So we're working all the angles here. Hasn't changed. Cards are being served with greater regularity. 17 straight Reds dished out last year, but you've already got 13 this year in the Premier League. 14 clubs have had a player sent off compared to 16. Liverpool have 4 players sent off in their first 12 matches, including Alexis's dismissal. That still counts in the stats. Wolves had the worst disciplinary record last season, 6 Reds. Jurgen Klopp got a solitary red at Liverpool last year on the way to finishing 5th. So Unwin says a greater sample size will help to determine whether the league's high card count is a coincidence. Those working in the Premier League say that it is. No need to advise players to do anything differently. So increase in cards, increase in reds, and you also have the head of the officials organization sitting there and saying, hey, take a peek at things that aren't clear and obvious. All of the chaos is going on. All of the chaos, I tell you. Since we're here, obviously we've been talking about Manchester City and Liverpool. Burnley and West Ham is this weekend. Luton and Crystal Palace. Interesting matchup Saturday at 3 o'clock. Newcastle, Chelsea. No Taiwo Awoniyi. He scored 10 in his last 14 league appearances. Without him, the Forest hasn't won in their last 8. So Awoniyi requires surgery on a groin injury. Could keep him out for 4 months. What do you want to bet Steve Cooper is going to be looking for some scoring help in the winter window? Yeah. I mean, he's got to get through the next 6 weeks, try to figure out who his next scorer is going to be. Probably Chris Wood. Divock Origi, maybe. So we'll see what Origi's going to have to step up, but it looks like it might be Chris Wood for Nottingham Forest. Sheffield United, Bournemouth. That'll be an interesting one at the bottom of the table. Brentford and Arsenal. Spurs and Villa. Everton, Manchester United. We'll get into Everton's story coming up in a bit. Sean Dyche has had his press conference today. Fulham and Wolves. All of this going from, like, we start going down a path talking about keepers, and we go to talk about reds, and we go to talk about this. And so that was originally this hour. The discussion was about the playoffs going on in Major League Soccer. And we end up going down a path involving officials and what's going on with VAR. We'll get back to it here. Trust me, we'll get back to it. So in the juice boxes, I think that it might be the 90-minute draw with Orlando City and Columbus, and it will end up with the over at 3.5. So the nightcap, Cincinnati and Philadelphia. Juice boxes right now, Cincinnati's at a minus 116. Your 90-minute draws a plus 282. Philadelphia's numbers are changing as we go. Literally, Cincinnati went to a minus 118. As I was giving you those numbers, Philadelphia to win outright is at a plus 296. I will say it right now, and I have maintained this the entire time. Games on season pass. This game could set the sport back at least a decade. This could be the 3-2 Auburn-Mississippi State game all over again. It could be. Absolutely could be. Man in the middle for this one, Ismail El-Fad. Now, this is an assignment. Hallelujah. Ismail El-Fad has been given Cincinnati and Philly. The league has hit a home run. I don't think you could have made a better assignment. I don't think you could have made a better assignment. Ismail El-Fad, the man in the middle. Cameron Blanchard, Jeremy Kizo, your ARs. Alan Chapman is your fourth. Kevin Stott, your VAR. Kyle Atkins, your AVAR. Kevin Stott and Kyle Atkins might be picking up an easy paycheck. Ismail El-Fad is the kind of man that you need in the middle for a match like this. We know what Philadelphia wants to do. Philadelphia wants to gum up the works. They want to sit there and slow everything down. They want to make sure that this game slogs its way through. to what Philadelphia hopes is its own advantage. We know the problems with Cincinnati's backline. Obviously, no Matt Miazga. So you're going to have some unfamiliar faces at the back for Cincinnati. Alvis Powell, a part of that back three. But you know that Philadelphia is going to want to gum up the works, and they're going to want to foul and slow things down, and foul and slow things down, and frustrate Lucho Acosta, and frustrate anybody trying to work their way forward with this FC Cincinnati offense. And Brandon Vasquez, you know that they are going to try to gum up the works the entire time to make sure that this game does not get completely out of control. Since we're there, let's talk about totals. Over under 1.5 at a minus 417. 2 is at a minus 263. 2.5, which might be kind of right where we are, at a minus 123. 3 is when it technically 2 3/4 is where it flips, but I don't think you can get 2 3/4 goals in a match. 3 is where it technically turns at a plus 131. So going from 2.5 at a minus 123 to 3 at a plus 131. I'm thinking 3 might be correct. I think 2-1 is probably right there in that margin. But we know, and Cincinnati should be able to take advantage of things in the middle of the field. If you can get Lucho Acosta working his way down in the middle of the park, creating problems for for Philadelphia's backline, then that's the hook here. 4-4-2 diamond going up against the speed and the artistry of FC Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati gets it done. I think so. But I think it also all depends on what you're staring at here. Rich, I'm glad you're in this morning. Rich says, you do know this is a rivalry game where both teams are identical and hate each other. They do hate each other. I mean, it is literally Union 1 and Union 2. Yeah, it is. And so Rich says Cincinnati has Union players, Union coaches, Union's GM basically wanting to be us. They thought that was going to be the key philosophy, to turn things around quickly, considering who they had previously as their managers and their philosophy. And Cincinnati invested. They wanted to do things a certain way, and they brought in the Philadelphia folks to do it. But I think Cincinnati, if they're going to do anything successfully, I think they're going to have to rule the middle of the park. But I think on the same side, I think Philadelphia offensively is going to try to figure out the advantages of an unfamiliar backline for Cincinnati. And see, this is the yin and yang of this for me. But I think that, in this one, once again, if Philly gets their way, the under is going to be the play. The under is going to be the play here, obviously. And you might not get to 3. It might be 1-1 go into penalties. But if Cincinnati can rule the middle of the park, and we also don't know how close to 100%, we don't know Andre Blake, and we don't know his status. He got dinged up in Nations League, played the whole match, but don't know if he's close to 100%. And obviously, this time of year, any kind of injury report that you're going to get, it's going to be much like it is in the National Hockey League when it comes to postseason injury updates. Upper body injury, lower body injury, possible, probable. Yeah, everybody is available for selection. Basically, that's what you're going to get. So, Kevsey, if only the game was yesterday and Franklin got his national bird, Philly could win. Kevsey and D. Graham and Rich Ransom going back and forth on the Twitch pitch. But I think it's going to come down to the midfield. I really do. Who bosses the midfield more? Cincinnati, they're more Borg-like in their approach, where Philadelphia, they have a set philosophy. And I want to see where Ismail Elfath sets the line. I want to see where he sets the line here. I really do. And from there, then you get to figure out what the adjustments are going to be. But yeah, this is in a way Philly 1 and Philly 2. But the Cincinnati backline is going to be key for me. How do you adjust without having Matt Miazga? And like I said, we mentioned what it's going to look like, at least with the three stalwarts in the back. And Philly being Philly, yes, they're dealing with injuries as well. But we'll see. This is going to be intriguing for a bunch of different reasons. If you're looking for goals, you're not going to get them, I don't think. And having Ismail Elfath as the man in the middle, I think that is I think that's key here. Having someone who understands the physicality of a match like this, a rivalry like this. And I want to see where he sets the line. That for me, with Ismail Elfath in this match, I want to see where he sets the line here. How much is he going to take when it comes to the physicality of Philadelphia and Cincinnati in return? So I think that this was about as good an assignment as you could make from Major League Soccer, was to have Ismail Elfath be the man in the middle for this one. So those are your Eastern Conference. Those are your Eastern Conference games on your Saturday. Once again, both of those are on Season Pass, and that's what they are. They're both on Season Pass. Ain't got nobody else doing nothing nowhere. That is different on Sunday. Sunday has actually, shoot. I didn't even do fun facts. Hello. Let me rewind. I'm going to rewind a little bit and get through fun facts before we get into the Western Conference. Fun facts for Cincy and Philly. Meeting in the playoffs for the second time after Union knocked out Cincinnati in last season's conference semis with the win in Chester. Leon Flock scored the game's only goal in the 59th minute. Playoff defeat last season was FC Cincinnati's only loss in their last 5 meetings with Philly, after the Union had won 5 of the first 6. Well, because Cincinnati was not the same team in those first 6 meetings that they've been in the last 5. Cincinnati's only 2 wins over Philly have come in the last 2 meetings between the sides at TQL, including the 1-0 win in April. FC Cincinnati's 3-0 win over Red Bulls in Game 1 of the first round of the MLS Cup playoffs was its 5th win in their last 12 matches in all comps. They're 5-5-2. After winning their previous 13 at TQL. And I know that this is what Philadelphia fans will be looking at. Philadelphia fans will be looking at recent form as opposed to the form that started the season out. Cincinnati has never lost a home knockout match. They've won 6 and drawn 2. But they've been eliminated on penalties twice. Celentano versus Blake. If you get that far. 2023 Leagues Cup round of 32 against Nashville. Open Cup semi against Messi and friends. Philadelphia won their first road match in the MLS Cup playoffs, Game 2 against New England on November 8th. Win was the Union's 6th on the road. In all comps in 2023, they've won more away matches in a calendar year only once in club history. That was 7 back in 2022. Lucho Acosta scored 1, had 2 assists on the 3 of Cincinnati's 4 goals against Red Bulls in the first round, including 2 of the 3 goals in Game 1 at home. Lucho Acosta has recorded 21 goal contributions, 11 goals, 10 assists in his last 13 home MLS matches, including the playoffs, including 7 in his last 4 at TQL. 4 goals, 3 assists. 3 of the 4 goals in the Union scored in their first-round series win over New England came on set pieces, a penalty, and 2 free kicks. Overall, more than half, 12 of 21, of the goals Philadelphia have scored in the MLS Cup playoffs have been on set pieces, including 6 of the last 7 dating back to last year's MLS Cup final. And that goes back to what we were talking about the back line of Cincinnati in this match and how different it's going to look compared to what they're used to having. So we'll see what happens there. So keep an eye on set pieces, set pieces, set pieces. So there you go. That's your fun facts. Now, Sunday. Houston and Kansas City. Season pass, FS1, Fox Deportes at Hell in a Shell at 7 o'clock. So I'm guessing it's going to be 7:25. Okay, it says 7 o'clock, but I would imagine since it's FS1, Fox is going to get their super hyper mega pregame show. So I'm guessing 7:25. And I'm guessing that's why it's also 9:30 on the other kick. So Houston 14-11-9, Kansas City 12-14-8. And like I said, I think that's why you've got a 9:30 start on the other one on season pass with Seattle and LAFC. We'll get to that one in a bit. 14-11-9 hosting 12-14-8. Fun facts. This will be the 8th time the Dynamo and Sporting have met in the playoffs, but only the 2nd in the last 10 seasons. Last time was 2017, back in round number 1. Houston has advanced on 4 of the previous 5 occasions. The Sporting went on to lift MLS Cup the only previous time it eliminated the Dynamo in the 2013 Eastern Conference Final. Sure. Let's make it sound like the National League West 10 years ago. Home sides won 7 of the last 9 between the two. The other 2 were draws. Both sides progressing in a home knockout match in the last 2 U.S. Open Cups. Last away win by either side was a 2-1 Sporting victory in Houston, October 2020. Dynamo have lost only 1 of their 16 matches in all comps since returning from the League's Cup break. Winning 9, drawing 6, including 2 penalty shootouts. Houston's only loss was a 2-1 defeat at Kansas City, September 23rd. Sporting's 4-1 win at St. Louis in Game 1 of the first round. Club's second outright win in 27 all-time road playoff games, plus 1 breakaway shootout win. Sporting's not lost in any of its last 3 road playoff games, winning 1 and drawing the other 2, after having never gone consecutive away games in the postseason without defeat before. Hector Herrera, set up Houston's lone goal in Game 3 against RSL, his 18th assist of the season, equaling Brad Davis's single-season club record, including playoffs set in 2011. 13 of those assists have come at home, equaling Carlos Heel for most of any MLS player this year. Alan Pulido and Gadi Kinda each assisted on 3 of Sporting's 6 goals in the first round of this year's playoffs. Only 2 Sporting Kansas City players had recorded 3 assists in a single postseason entering this year, Felipe in 2018 and Eric Quill in 2002. Did not have Eric Quill on the dance card today. So that's your fun facts involving Houston and Kansas City. Juice boxes. Houston at home at Hell in a Shell is a minus 125. Draws a plus 282. Sporting is a plus 313. Looking at totals, flips from a minus to a plus in the 2.5 to 3 range. 2.5 is a minus 123. 3 is a plus 136. 3.5 is a plus 202. I could see the 3.5. I could see one of these teams getting 3 goals on the board. I think it's going to be Houston. So I think Houston and the over here at plus 202 on your total at 3.5. I could see 4 goals on the board. But the one fun fact that stuck out to me as we were going through all of our fun facts. The Dynamo have lost only one of their 16 matches in all comps since returning from the League's Cup break. Winning 9, drawing 6, including 2 penalty shootouts. The only loss was in Kansas City, but that was in Kansas City. 9, 6, and 1 in their last 16 since returning from the League's Cup break. Ben Olsen is adamant that he is not a redemption story. Getting the fresh start. Interview with MLSsoccer.com, Ben Olsen says, people use the word fun, and I know it's overused, but when they watch us and they say, your team's fun, not only the way they play, but the way they express themselves after we score, the way they interact with the fans, it's a wonderful thing. I'm just really trying to enjoy it because I know it doesn't happen often. I've been around enough where these years and these teams don't necessarily happen all the time, so that's where I am right now. That and the fact I want to hold another trophy. Players want to hold another trophy, and I don't see why we can't. I think there's still a chip on the shoulder of this team. Anytime you still read about the Houston Dynamo or what little I read on the website, it's always, there's still, every compliment's backhanded. I've lived with that for a long time. Even when you get a compliment, it's got a little tone to it. We're trying to change that too. Everybody talks about redemption for Ben Olsen. He says, I'll put it this way. I don't understand what the redemption would be. I've made playoffs before as a coach. I've won the Open Cup before as a coach. So then I go to, okay, now what? The team, we connect more passes. We're playing in a more aesthetically pleasing way. Okay, I don't know. It's still a result-oriented business. So what would I have done differently? Where's the redemption? He was asked what else has emerged on the other side of this self-described most enjoyable season as a coach. Being a part of the locker room and the family day-to-day kind of ups and downs of a season, I think I missed that. If there was anything, it was that. It wasn't the volatility. It wasn't the Sunday mornings after a loss, being distraught that things didn't go your way the night before. Didn't miss any of that, really. It's more about, if anything, I miss being with a group on a daily basis and building culture and the relationships with my staff and relationships with players and the fans. I mean, you're looking at Ache, Bassi, Carrasquilla, Franco Escobar. Remember, for those of you who like to listen to the interviews that are done in Spanish by Nico Moreno and our friends at Pulso Sports and the Soccer Bar, they caught up with Franco Escobar this week, so give that a listen. As a left back, Griffin Dorsey, Corey Baird, Sviatchenko at center back. Yeah, and Kefsi's right. It is playoff Franco mode. Franco as a left back in Houston. So you've got Houston, and I think Houston gets it done. I think they're in control, and I think it's probably something 3-1-ish. Folks in the middle on this one, Guido Gonzalez Jr. Well, it'll be interesting at least. Guido Gonzalez Jr. is the man in the middle for Houston and Sporting. Ian McKay, Jeffrey Greason, your ARs. Lucas Zapala is your fourth. VAR is Carol-Ann Chenard. Tom Supple is your AVAR. So on Saturday, we get John Freeman and Ismail Elfath. We get them on Saturday. On Sunday, we get Guido Gonzalez Jr. and Ted Unkel. Let's go back over Guido Gonzalez's numbers for this game. Houston and Sporting Kansas City. Guido Gonzalez Jr., 22 matches, 542 fouls. So that puts him slightly ahead of Joe Dickerson. So Freeman, Victor Rivas, Nima Sagafi has called the most at 500. Well, actually, no, Lucas Zapala has called the most at 601. So Zapala, Nima Sagafi, and Nima Sagafi's foul rate, 21 matches, 590 fouls. So Zapala at 601, Nima Sagafi at 590, And I know we've got to look at averages too. I wish they had averages before we had to do the math. Guido Gonzalez Jr. at 542, John Freeman at 560. So Chilowitz at 554. So top 6 or 7 in the league, but yellow cards. Guido Gonzalez Jr. is one of 4 center refs that have averaged more than 5 yellow cards in a match. Izmir Pekmic is right on the number at 5. Victor Rivas is at 5.09. Then you've got Chris Penso at 5.17. Guido Gonzalez Jr. at 5.27. And the only reason that Guido Gonzalez Jr. does not have the most yellow cards issued by a center ref in Major League Soccer this year is because Lucas Zapala center refed 3 more matches than he did in the regular season. Zapala, 122 yellow cards. And since he was center ref for 25, that's why his average is under 5, 4.88. So Zapala, 4.88, 122 yellow cards. 22 matches for Guido Gonzalez Jr., 116 yellow cards, 5.25, 5.27. So Guido Gonzalez Jr. will not be afraid to flash the yellow card here. So we'll keep an eye on that. Guido Gonzalez Jr. also has given 6 reds this season in his 22 matches. Sergi Boyko also gave up 6. Rosendo Mendoza gave up 8. Rubiel Vasquez gave up 7. So tied for third in sheer numbers, not necessarily average, but in sheer numbers, Guido Gonzalez Jr. tied for third with 6 red cards this year. Red card average per match at 0.27, so that would put him the same as Ismail Elfath, but Elfath only managed 15 matches in Major League Soccer. He had things to do across the planet. But 0.27 is the third highest average of red cards given out this season in Major League Soccer. Mendoza at 0.4, Rubiel Vasquez at 0.35, Elfath and Guido Gonzalez Jr. at a 0.27. So Guido Gonzalez Jr., 22 into 54. We're going to have to do some math here. 22 into 54, 22, 2 is 440. 22, so 24-ish foul, 25-ish fouls, so 25 fouls a match. 25 fouls called, 5.25 red cards, and 0.27 yellow cards and 0.27 red cards. So Guido Gonzalez Jr., he's up there in those numbers. So we'll see how he manages. Let's see how he manages the activity with Houston and Kansas City. Like I said, I think that Houston gets it done at home. They advance to a conference final. And this will be the last match at Hell in a Shell this year because Houston's a 4 seed and Seattle and LA are 2 and a 3. So that'll be the last match on the board, 9:30 on Sunday night. So 9:30 on Sunday night, Seattle and Los Angeles. Seattle's at a plus 140. 90-minute draws a plus 245. LAFC is a plus 185. So the man in the middle for this one is Ted Unkel. Crew for the late night at Lumen Field. Ted Unkel's the man in the middle. Corey Rockwell, Corey Richardson, your ARs. Philip Dujic is your 4th. Chris Penso is your VAR. And Tyler Wyrostic is your AVAR. Victor Rivas was named MLS Ref of the Year. Ian McKay earned MLS Assistant Ref of the Year. Uncle, Rockwell, Richardson, Dujic, Penso, and Wyrostic. Penso and Wyrostic are in the booth. Uncle, Rockwell, Richardson, and Dujic are your four on the floor at Lumen Field. Fun facts for this one in the 2 versus 3. This one, once again, exclusively on season pass, no other place. As of 14-9-11, as hosting 14-10-10. LAFC won the first match in club history, 1-0 at Seattle, March 4, 2018. Since then, the Sounders are unbeaten in 7 home matches against LAFC, winning 4, drawing 3. Including a 3-1 win in the first round of the 2020 playoffs, LAFC has managed a draw in each of their last 2 visits to Lumen Field. This will be the 3rd MLS Cup playoffs meeting and 4th knockout meeting between Seattle and LA. Sounders won both previous playoff encounters 3-1 away in the 2019 Western Conference Final, 3-1 at home in the first round in 2020. LAFC did knock Seattle out of MLS's back. MLS is back in 2020 with a 4-1 win in the round of 16. Sounders are unbeaten in 19 straight at home in the MLS Cup playoffs, winning 17, drawing 2. Including a penalty shootout loss in 2021, dating back to 2014. Longest home unbeaten run in MLS playoff history, with only one other team, LA Galaxy, with 11 straight from 2002 to 2010, having a run even half as long. LAFC has won 4 of its last 5, drawing 1, including the 2-game sweep of Vancouver in the first round of the playoffs. Dating back to the beginning of last year's playoffs, LAFC has lost only 1 of its 11 knockout matches against MLS opposition, winning 8, drawing 2, including the penalty shootout win in the MLS Cup final. A 2-0 defeat to the Galaxy in the 5th round of the 2023 U.S. Open Cup was the only loss. Seattle have scored 6 goals in 2 playoff matches against LAFC, with Raul Ruidiaz with 3, Nico Ladero with 2, Jordan Morris with the others, scoring all 6. Including assists, those 3 have totaled 13 goal contributions on the 6 playoff goals Seattle scored against LAFC. And then Denny Bouanga has scored 9 goals in his last 5 MLS matches, regular season and playoffs, including scoring 3 times against Vancouver in the first round, equaling the most in a 5-match span, including playoffs in league history. Most goals scored in a span of 6 matches, including playoffs. You might remember him. A guy named Joseph Martinez, who had 11 in 2018. So that's your fun facts for this one. All time, Seattle is 5-4-8 against LAFC. LAFC won 1-0 back June 21st. Goalless draw March 18th. Then last season, July 29th, LAFC won 2-1. You've got the questions with Seattle. How healthy are they, especially at the back, coming forward? You know that the folks are going to play, and they will be stingy. I do not anticipate a whole lot of goals in this one, to be perfectly honest. I know everybody's staring at Denny Bouanga and going, yeah, he's going to score, and he's going to keep scoring. I don't know. This one might be 1-0, might be 2-1. I don't see a whole lot of goals here. So staring at your totals, 2.5 is a minus 105. 3 is a plus 163. So basically it flips at 2.75. 3 is a plus 163. 3.5 is a plus 233. I don't know if it gets to 2. I don't know if it gets to 3.5. I would take the 3 at a plus 163. Like I said, it might be 1-0, might be 2-1. Like I said, I don't see a whole lot of goals here. I think just because of the surface, getting adjusted to things in Seattle, Seattle's going to have a hell of a crowd there, and it's going to be loud. I just think that, with Stephen Fry in net, with it being Seattle, with it being a night game, with it being the last game of the weekend. I think Seattle gets it done here. May not be the most aesthetically pleasing game on the world, but I think that they get it done. I think Seattle gets it done, and then they'll host the Western Conference Final against Houston. Take my predictions, wad them up, and throw them in the garbage, because traditionally I am awful at this kind of thing. So there you go. That's your look at everything going on Major League Soccer. Remember the games this weekend. It is Eastern Conference Saturday. It is Western Conference Sunday. Orlando, Columbus, 5:30 on Apple TV, so that means 5:39. Cincinnati and Philadelphia at TQL, that is at 8:09. Rich, are you going? Question for Rich Ransom, our Philadelphia Union, main Philadelphia Union flag bearer here. Houston and Kansas City, 7 o'clock Sunday night. That one is on Season Pass, FS1 and Fox Deportes. Seattle and LAFC is on Season Pass at 9:30 on MLS Season Pass. So that is that's your rundown of everything in Major League Soccer. Once again, quick reminders. What was on your plate yesterday, both figuratively and literally? I want to know about your Thanksgivings. Like I said, I know that Ricky is stunned that there was no macaroni and cheese that had been made. And like I said, I want to know the good and the bad. Get out of your system. Go ahead and vent. Because we got about a half hour to go. So go ahead and vent your spleens. Let me know what happened yesterday. Get everything from Thanksgiving off your chest. Because we want to get into Black Friday, by the way. This being Black Friday, do you get your shopping done today? Do you wait till Cyber Monday? Do you do it? Do you trickle through the weekend? Or are you a shopper of 12 months of the year? I am a 12-month shopper. Literally, I'm a 12-month shopper. I will sit there and I will go, like I said, if I see something in March that I think that I will be giving away at Festivus, I will pick it up in March. I will have zero qualm about picking something up in March and hanging on to it. And full disclosure, I stash all of my gifts in a centralized location here in Office HD. And I have told the boss, don't open this curtain because everything's literally behind it. And so since, frankly, between you and me, since no one uses the downstairs bathroom, it's in the downstairs bathtub. Closed curtain. Tell the boss, don't go into the bathroom because it's in the shower. It's in the bathtub. Every gift that I have is congregated there because I know where it is. I know I can get to it. I know that that's where it is. So you know where I hide things now, at least here in Office HD. The Euros came out with their playoff rundown, and Wales would entertain Poland or Estonia if they reach the final. Single leg semis played in Cardiff on March 21st. Poland, Estonia, Wales, Finland, Israel, Iceland, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Ukraine, Georgia and Luxembourg, Greece and Kazakhstan. So those are your semis in your groups when it comes to Path A, Path B, and Path C. So we'll keep an eye on things for Saba as they get ready for Luxembourg next time around. D. Graham is apparently sending out the siren call in need of a shopper. Unless I get unexpected money, then I'm a buy now shopper. Morning 4-card. Gigi and Saba allegedly after. Where is that? Where's my rundown? Yep. It could allegedly be if Georgia beats Luxembourg and Greece beats Kazakhstan, which they should. The C path would be Saba versus Gigi in Path C. That's not very fair. Saba and Gigi in Path C. Path A, Poland, Estonia, Wales, Finland. Wales, Finland, winner hosts. Israel, Iceland, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Ukraine. Path C, Georgia, Luxembourg, and it will be apparently at the winner of Georgia and Luxembourg. So Gigi and Saba in Path C. We'll have to ask them about that stuff in March. So it'll be during the season, during the 2024 year. They're going to have to duck out and play each other, probably, in Path C to get into the Euros in 2024. So, yeah, Gigi and Saba allegedly after. Yep, buy now shopper. D. Graham. Okay, so Soccer for Good OG, okay, had a last-minute pivot in her Thanksgiving meal. Potatoes au gratin. An excellent decision there. We had roasted turkey, smoked turkey, ham. And my sister-in-law was kicking herself, complaining because she feels like she left the ham out too long. Didn't matter to me. As long as I had good mustard, I was in good shape. Bunch of casseroles. The rice dish that I told you guys about, that was there. It is now in the fridge. It's going to be lunch later today. Desserts that no one touched because we all started eating so early, and we ate too much of the main stuff, that I've got desserts too. And those are going downtown to feed a TV crew. So it's all good. And so you got that. But so potatoes au gratin, that's an interesting wild card, OG. Well done. So yeah, morning four card. Glad you're here. Like I said, we got a half hour left. Vent your spleens about your Thanksgivings. Vent your spleens about your Black Friday, about your shopping, about all these things. Get it off your chest. I want you to get into the weekend with a cleansed palate, a nice mindset as you get ready for MLS playoffs. Everything I want it purged. I want to have you have a good start to your weekend. I want to get everything out. All of the stuff from yesterday that you feel like you want to talk about, just go ahead and let it go, let it rip. And so that way you can go into the weekend with your big matchups with your favorite clubs, or that you want to hate watch because it's not your favorite clubs. Get it all out of your system. Just get it all out of your system this morning. It's just you and me and whatever's on your mind. Obviously, we're going to go through, gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch. There's a lot to watch, frankly. I think Argentina beat Brazil in the U17s this morning. So you've got that. You've got that as well that has been going on. So there's plenty to play with here in the final half hour of the show. And so once again, it's always fun to see what's on your collective minds as we roll through everything here this morning. So hopefully you got to spend time with those that you love. You got to spend time with your in-laws and those that are close to you. And now let's get back to football, people. We got playoffs this weekend. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, things left unsaid, provided I can hit the right button. All right, so gossip. Oh, public service announcement from Hutch. Baking soda and vinegar work quite well for cleaning baked-on grease off your cookware. I'll take your word for it, Hutch, because I leave it for other places. Four-card, who was watching the U17s. The Argentina kid with the hat trick is about to make himself and club a lot of money. Show me my money. And apparently one of the goals was pretty insane. But, of course, it being Argentina and Brazil. Diablito. Oh, Echeverry. Yeah. Echeverry is Echeverry is going to really, really, really have himself a payday at some point. So where is Echeverry? All right, so where is Echeverry right now? Claudio Echeverry is at this very moment. Oh, he's at River Plate. Echeverry is at River Plate. So the 17-year-old attacking midfielder He's got a contract through the end of next season. In the Liga Profesional for River Plate, he had 4 appearances and 1 assist. He had 1 in 72 minutes. So came off the bench. Did not appear in the Libertadores, the Copa Argentina, or the Copa de la Liga, but he had 4 appearances in the Liga Profesional and played for 72 minutes, got an assist. So he's been in the squad for 17. He's only played in 4 in the Liga Profesional, has the 1 assist, and came on as a sub in 4 instances. So Claudio Echeverri. Keep an eye on Claudio Echeverri because River Plate is going to make a blanking fortune. Diablito Echeverri. And apparently his market value currently, according to our friends at Transfermarkt, €4 million. And that was as of July 4th. So we'll see what happens with that. But as of July 4th, Claudio Echeverri, Diablito, the little devil, hat trick for Argentina. Brazil is in shambles. And he's the new guy that we are keeping an eye on. 4 cards already sitting there saying he's the Almada replacement. He's the U22 DP. 4 card is already River. Thank you. Yeah, River. So, yeah, River. And so, for River. River's going to make a fortune. River is going to probably end up, if somebody wants Echeverri now at River, and by the way, he is on the gram at Claudio Echeverri _ if you want to follow him now. So at River, current market value of €4 million. Somebody's going to sit there and go, how about if we pay you 10? Somebody's going to get somebody. River's going to get a good paycheck. They are going to get a good paycheck on Claudio Echeverri. Somebody is going to take that dive and absolutely just go all in on Diablito. So we'll keep an eye on Echeverri, and he's now the tournament's top scorer. Victory in the quarterfinals. They're going to face Germany in the semis. So keep an eye on Echeverri. And as the pursuit continues for Echeverri, we know it's going to pick up steam. Officially. Hey, you score a hat trick in the U17s against your bitter rival, it's going to happen. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Real Madrid are ready to splash the cash next summer after setting their sights on PSG's Mbappe and Erling Haaland. Where are you going to get the money? Sir Jim Ratcliffe admires former Liverpool sporting director Michael Edwards. Keen on him being a part of the Manchester United's revamped football operations. And according to our friends at Talk Sport, speaking of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, he is apparently not high on Casemiro and Rafael Varane. Still waiting for the deal to be ratified where Ratcliffe picks up 25% for £1.5 billion, set to be ratified in the coming days. Not expected to call the shots, as we mentioned just a second ago with Michael Edwards. But he isn't convinced about the signings of Varane and Casemiro. Varane joined in 2021 for £34 million. Casemiro joined in 22 for 60. Ratcliffe considers both players to be poor recruitment decisions. This is once again courtesy of our friends at TalkSport. TalkSport understands that Ten Hag has fallen out with Varane. Ratcliffe's verdict could be the final straw for both defender and Casemiro, who has struggled for form. Bayern Munich have expressed an interest in Varane. Casemiro has offers from Saudi Arabia ahead of the January transfer window. Ratcliffe making a short list of people to bring in as sporting director, including ex-Tottenham chief Paul Mitchell. So we mentioned Paul Mitchell. We've got Michael Edwards. So plenty of folks that Sir Jim Ratcliffe can choose from. Chelsea left-back Ian Matson is open to joining Manchester City after the treble winners were linked with an interest in the U21. Arsenal will reject any approach for Tomiyasu, with Bayern Munich interested. Arsenal have also agreed to meet the buyout clause for David Raya. And that really is no surprise if you think about it, considering the goalie controversy that's there. Screaming that at the top of our lungs. It's a goalie controversy. Sure it is. So David Raya, buyout clause set to become a permanent signing in January for £27 million. That's from our friend Fabrizio Romano. Granada hoping to tie their winger Brian Zaragoza to a new contract with a €20 million release clause amid interest from Brentford and RB Leipzig. We mentioned Brentford, the situation outbound, the situation inbound involving Ivan Toney. Outbound Ivan Toney, he doesn't want to stay. Inbound the funds, where do the funds go? Probably needs to go up top. As much as you're getting from Mbumo, as you did last season, you need more from him now. He probably needs some reinforcements. So the Zaragoza interest does make sense. Manchester United, Arsenal, and several Saudi clubs interested in Pedro Neto. Wolves will demand a fee of at least £60 million. I'm sure that league that we don't cover or talk about will pay it. Manchester United also looking to reinforce its center back, Nice defender Jean-Claire Todibo, Sporting Lisbon's defender Gonzalo Ignacio, seen as ideal replacements for Varane. 3-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Once again, we also mentioned Casemiro. Wolves also face a fight to hold on to Ryan Aït-Nouri. On defense, Chelsea added him to the short list. Who isn't on Chelsea's short list? I think we're all on Chelsea's short list when it comes to the January window. We're all on that window. We're all on that list. I'm sure that Bowley Clear Lake has something for Fourcard, something for Kefsey, something for D. Graham, something for Hutch, something for Rich Ransom for the OG. We're all on Chelsea's list. We're all on Bowley Clear Lake's list. Chelsea is also keeping tabs on Palmeiras' winger Esteval Willian, who is 16. Not that Willian. Esteval Willian, who's 16, said to have a £52 million release clause. Mundo Deportivo. Brazil's Football Federation still expects Carlo Ancelotti to take over at the end of the 23-24 season, despite fresh rumors he could stay on at Real Madrid with his Bernabeu contract set to expire next summer. We all saw how Denise, the substitute teacher, was handling Argentina. Translation, not very well. I mean, Brazil is just not the Brazil that we know. They're not. And, I mean, it's plotting, it's physical, it's, you're wanting to bump folks off of their pins. It's not the Jogo Bonito that we're used to. And to see them, drag down and just try to fight Argentina in CONMEBOL this past week. I mean, literally, that's what it seemed like. They wanted to drag them down in the mud, slow it down, and try to figure out a way to try to get a goal in transition somewhere. And then some of the cheap stuff. I mean, we talked about the elbowing of Rodrigo right in the grill out of the blocks by Gabriel Jesus. And then Rodrigo got popped again, no cards. Then Joelinton in the second half does the one with the least amount of contact and does a bit of a do-si-do, and he got a yellow, and that's why they finished with 10. But Brazil is not Brazil. Brazil's not the Brazil that we're used to. So it's Denise is like, yee. Real Betis winger Asana João, who's 18, has emerged as a target for Brentford. Premier League club could move for the Spain U21 in January. Manchester United's Aaron Wan-Bissaka considering an offer to play for DR Congo at AFCON next year. And that could cause some problems for Manchester United at the back. Newcastle and Wolves could compete for Senegalese defender Aruna Sangante after he caught the eye in Ligue 1 with Le Havre. And Le Havre has been doing things on a fantastic budget. So you know that what Le Havre is doing is investing, and they're going to make a good turn when Sangante goes to his next port of call. Wolves have also been scouting 20-year-old Nigerian Rafiu Dorosinmi, but Eintracht Frankfurt are also interested in the 10 million pound rated Victoria Pilsen striker. Barcelona keen on signing Gio Lo Celso as they look to find cover for Gavi. Fluminense's head coach Fernando Diniz says the exit of 22-year-old Brazil midfielder Andre is imminent, with reports having claimed Fulham are leading the race for his signature. D. Graham, and this is another question. A couple of things from D. Graham. Hating it, NBC's put more of the Premier League behind a paywall. Tomorrow's Arsenal game should be on the network. I mean, under normal circumstances, but they're trying to spin more people off of Peacock, and they're trying to get more subscribers. I will admit that I watch Peacock for more than just the sports. I mean, there's a boatload of sports, don't get me wrong, but I have the super hyper mega Peacock package. I watch regular programming off of Peacock, and I guess that's what makes it more financially viable for me and the boss is that we watch other things. We'll watch the Jesse L. Martin series, which is very good. You can kind of figure out where it goes, but it's interesting each episode, but you can kind of figure out, but it's good to see them workshop the problem. And I'll watch a lot of the specialty channels that they have. They call them channels, and it's like all of the owned and operated stations have their own channels that are there. And so if there's something going on in another market that I want to watch that's live, I can go to the news channel there. So I can watch I can watch Peacock for other things, but since you mentioned it, D. Graham, what I want to look up is how many folks are subscribed to Peacock. And Peacock, by the way, is apparently doing a Black Friday deal of $199 a month. Terms apply, obviously. There's also a student offer for $199 a month. So maybe if you have a student, you can get them to sign up for $199 a month. $60 a year with tax if it's Peacock Premium, and we do that. And I'm trying to find 60 annually on the current price. I'm trying to find the numbers of actual subscribers. But of course, when you want to try and find that number, then you can't find it easily. So anything's possible. But if somebody can find the Peacock subscriber numbers, then let me know. And then D. Graham also says, separately, I'm curious how Chelsea replaces Emma Hayes, especially given the Gustafsson to Sweden men's rumor. Yeah, and I mean, you really have to ask Chelsea what they're up to. And it's going to have to be a splashy hire, you would think, because you've got to win the press conference. And so since the U.S., WNT has spent all of this money to bring Emma Hayes over, what is Chelsea going to do in return? What is Chelsea going to do to bring in somebody who, is going to have to win the press conference and sit there and go, what Coach Hayes did was fantastic, but we're going to have to continue what she's done and continue to grow that from there. That's the key. And Millie Bright has also been ruled out of England's Nations League doubleheader against the Netherlands and Scotland. So that's a bit of injury news involving the women's side of the game. But yeah, this is going to be a test for Chelsea's women's side. What are you going to do? What are you going to do to try to maintain everybody's interest and have people sit there and not hit a panic button about all of it? That's the key. Daily Express, by the way, is saying that Manchester United will not let Varane leave in January on loan. But the words from our friends at Sky. Here's how Sky phrases this as we continue to roll through the papers. Manchester United will not let Rafael Varane leave in January on loan, but could countenance a permanent departure for a fee between 18 and 26 million pounds. But could countenance. What? I mean, honestly, my mom was an English major. So I'm having to look up the definition of countenance. Why don't you? It's a look or expression of the face. Okay, countenance. Approval. It's definition. Definition 2. It's not even definition 1. Definition 1 of countenance, the appearance or expression of someone's face. 2, approval. 3, to approve or give support. So it's not even the first, and this is from the Cambridge Dictionary. Sky goes to the second or third definition of the Cambridge Dictionary for countenance. Why don't you just say they're looking to? They could be convinced. Manchester United will not let Rafael Varane leave in January alone, but could countenance a permanent departure. So you go to the second or third definition. You don't even go to the first definition. It's the second or third. Why don't you just say looking to? Could be convinced. They could be convinced on a departure for a fee between 18 and 26 million. How hard is that? Countenance. And it's not even the first definition. Once again, this happens when when your mother is an English major. Daily Mirror says that Brentford is determined to keep hold of returning striker Ivan Toney in January. A blow to Arsenal and Chelsea as they seek to improve their goal-scoring options. But the key here is, yeah, D. Graham, sounding important is a British way of life, though. Yes. And so what we were discussing with gossip, rumor, and innuendo, you play it forward. Daily Mirror says that Brentford is determined to keep hold of Ivan Toney. Of course they are. You have to say that. You can't just sit there and say, "Yeah, we're getting rid of him." Once again, under contract, control the asset. Control the asset. That's what you're doing. You're making sure that, I mean, you can't just publicly sit there and go, Ivan Toney, we're tired of him. We're tired of him, and we'll let him go. No, you can't say that. Publicly, you have to sit there and go, yes, we look forward to having Ivan as a part of our Brentford family for quite some time, and look forward to the successes that we will have with Ivan leading our attack. Period. End of sentence. That's what you say. You can't sit there and give Chelsea or Arsenal any hope whatsoever. You're not going to sit there and go, well, yeah, we're looking to jet him. Yeah, we're looking to have him go out the door. Because then what that does is that gives anyone who's interested, oh, okay, so I don't have to offer as much as I would like, as I thought I was going to have to, because they're saying publicly that they're looking to get rid of him. Brentford has to say that. Thomas Frank has to say that. Yeah, we want to keep Ivan Toney around. You can't just sit there and turn a negative and go, nah, no, we don't want him. Because then you're selling yourself short with your wallet. You want to get as much as humanly possible when it comes to a player of Ivan Toney's status and stature. For Brentford, it means that much more because of how they are budgetarily. But Brentford's saying what they have to say. Always take that in mind. Don't know. We haven't heard anything today, but Mikel Arteta will defend himself against the FA charge today with the growing feeling, this is once again from our friends at the Daily Mirror, a growing feeling that Arsenal are being singled out. So that will be his defense. I believe coach is going to need some empirical evidence to take into the room with him. So we'll keep an eye on Mikel Arteta and if there gets to be any other kinds of punishments attached. From the Metro, Chelsea revealed Wesley Fofana is back in training after rupturing his ACL back in July. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has praised Harry Maguire for his response to criticism and insists the defender has proved why he should remain at Manchester United. The Athletic, and this is really interesting. Liverpool set to be able to use part of the upper tier at Anfield when they face Manchester United December 17, adding an extra 6,000 seats available subject to the necessary safety certificate being granted by the local council. So Liverpool could be adding 6,000 seats for the match against Manchester United December 17. Dudes in the hard hats are going to go up there and going to sit in every seat. And this is interesting. From the Times, Premier League referees are being helped by pilots from British Airways to hone the art of communicating under pressure and improve the precision of their language. All right, I'm intrigued now. You read a headline and you're like, yeah, okay, but that's intriguing to me. So today's sections, sport. Let's see if the article is let's see if the article is what it says it is. He's going to challenge the FA charge and vows not to be silenced. Mikel Arteta is taking no guff. He's taking no guff whatsoever. Where is it? Come on. Okay, here we go. BA pilots help elite referees. And so, of course, it's behind a pay window. Rats! So I got a headline. And then, of course, harumph on all of you. Trying to read an article is a fantastic headline. Oh, well, boo. Okay. Now, so much for that. All right. So, for any of you that subscribe to the Times, apparently British Airways pilots are helping out the officials in the Premier League about enunciating and saying things in the proper manner. Daily Telegraph. Manchester City and Liverpool have written to supporters warning against missile throwing and tragedy chanting ahead of Sunday's clash. And that's understandable. That's like, y'all, don't do this and don't do this. So they're like, yeah, okay. So issuing a warning. This is from Ducker over at the Telegraph. So this is going to be some heavy duty stuff. Desperate to end the toxic atmosphere that's marred recent meetings. Last month, it was announced kickoff had been brought forward to 12:30 because the local safety advisory group, which includes the police, refused permission for it to start at 5:30. So it was supposed to start at 10:30 or 12:30. They were the 12:30 match. Everybody involved in security forces in the area was like, nope, too late in the day. Too much could have happened by then. Moving it to the 7:30 a.m. Eastern time kick. Jurgen Klopp, he says he's hit out at such a high-profile game being played in the Saturday lunchtime slot following the international break. He's mad about that. Authorities hope the early kick will minimize the risk of trouble. And City and Liverpool have both warned their fans that misbehavior will be punished. City are understood to have highlighted the problems of tragedy chanting, and Liverpool have referenced issues of missile throwing. Last December, a 15-year-old girl and City fan scarred for life, according to her father, after being struck by a plastic pint pot filled with coins that had been thrown from the away section at the Etihad during a Gummy Bear Cup tie. One of more than 50 reports of missiles being launched at the game. 2 months earlier, Liverpool's win at Anfield. City alleged coins were thrown at manager Pep Guardiola during the game. Team bus attacked on the way out of Anfield, as it had during the Champions League quarters in 2018. Liverpool condemned chants from City fans mocking the Hillsborough disaster, as well as graffiti on the away concourse about the tragedy. Scenes led City exec Ferran Soriano and his Liverpool counterpart Billy Hogan to write a joint letter to supporters, warning they would issue bans to any fans found guilty of unacceptable behaviors as part of a crackdown. So we'll see about that. One couple of other things before we go, because we got to let you know what's on TV. Chris Bascom over at the Telegraph caught up with Sean Dyche. Asked about the strength of the penalty. Like everyone in these parts, I was shocked. It's my poor attempt at a Sean Dyche late in the show. But the wave of noise suggests most people are shocked by it. Disproportionate has been the word used by the club, so we feel aggrieved by that. The focus on the pitch, getting the team to win, and the performances to feel different. We are on the right lines. It's given us a push backward to go forward again. Address the players, and believes they have the character to recover from being thrown back into the bottom three. So it seems to me there's a swell of people around football who think it has gone too far. So Sean Dyche with his statements. Once again, Prim and Proper coming up a little later this afternoon. The 3D from Drew Dickinson, and we'll get you ready for the weekend. Pair of news note. Mario Balotelli refused a breathalyzer test after escaping injury in a car crash involving his six-figure Audi near his hometown of Brescia in northern Italy. Hit a wall in his hometown around 8:30 local time Thursday night. Plays for Demirspor, was said to have been attended to by paramedics after climbing out of the vehicle and lying on the ground, alleged to have refused to take a breathalyzer, leading police to confiscate his driver's license. Crash is the latest mishap to befall Balotelli, and the Telegraph recaps all of it. The forward crashed his Audi R8 en route to the club's training ground and was found to be carrying 5,000 pounds in cash at the time of the incident. When police asked why, he reportedly replied, quote, "Because I am rich," end quote. Balotelli joined Demirspor in September on a one-year deal, scored 3 times in 5 appearances. So we'll keep an eye on Mario Balotelli and all of that going forward as well. So let's see, any other stories before we go? I think we're in decent shape. Sam Kerr had a hat trick. Chelsea beating Paris FC in the Women's Champions League activity. England knocked out of the U17 World Cup by Uzbekistan. And the Euro 2024 power rankings are out. And it is from 21 to 1. Romania, Czech Republic, Albania. Lowest ranked team qualified for the tournament, standing at 59th on the list. Slovakia, Slovenia at 17. Turkey's at 16. Serbia, Hungary, Switzerland, Austria, Denmark, Scotland is in the top 10. Croatia, Luka Modric is 38. Netherlands, Germany at number 7. Italy at 6. Spain at 5. Belgium, Portugal, England, and France. So that's your top 21 according to our friends at the Telegraph with the power rankings out for the Euro. What to watch, where to watch it, I'm going to focus on today. Selfishly at 7:30 tonight on GPB, it's the quarterfinals in high school football in the state, and it is Colquitt County at Milton, 7:30. So according to our friend Paul Kennedy, he's focusing on season pass, as he understandably should. You have Friday, Monaco and PSG. Derby d'Italia on Sunday. Juve can take over the Serie A lead with a win over Inter Milan. Weston McKennie is reported to be fit for the match. Timothy Weah out due to a recurrence of the thigh injury. Borussia Dortmund, Borussia Mönchengladbach on Saturday. Gio Reyna, Vijo Scali. 3 o'clock Friday afternoon on BN and BN Espanol. If you do not have BN Sports, you can get it at Fanati's, fntz.co/soccer down here. And it helps out the network, it helps out the show, and it helps you look at things that you wouldn't have had networks for previously. For the fans, CDO, Nuestra Tele, TIC, BNs, all of that. I was watching Brasileiro, as a matter of fact, last night. So you've got all of that. Let me get into the actual rundown of soccer on TV. And remember, you've also got the next round of college soccer going on. Remember the U17s that was early this morning. ESPN Plus, apparently they're doing a streaming offer, a Black Friday discount. Rotherham and Leeds in the championship at 3. Bundesliga's at $2.20. Bundesliga B's at $12.20. La Liga's at 3. Women's tournament quarterfinals, 3 matches available on the Plus, 5, 5:30, and 8. Fox Soccer Plus has the league we don't talk about. They're having a doubleheader. It's going on right now. Golazo Network has the Brasileiro, Corinthians, and Bahia at 4. And Paramount Plus is also doing a streaming offer as well, and they are simulcasting on Paramount Plus. Tomorrow, it is Ligue 1 at 3, Ligue 2 at 9, Turkish Super League on BN at 11. Once again, you can get BN and BN in Espanol simulcast there. Mali, Morocco's at 7 on the U17s. France and Uzbekistan is earlier than that. I would hope you're still sleeping. Doubleheader on USA Network at 10 and 12:30. And Peacock will have all the other action as well as Goal Rush. And that's another thing that I do is I watch Goal Rush on big Saturday mornings. So that's on Peacock as well, Premier League Goal Rush. ESPN Deportes, quadruple header in La Liga. Atletico Barcelona's at 8 a.m., Celta de Vigo, Valencia 10:15, Getafe Almeria 12:30, Atletico Madrid Mallorca is at 3. Fox Deportes is in the Honduran League at 4. Telemundo simulcasting the U17s as well as Universo. Universo also simulcasting the Premier League return. Season pass with your Apple TV action on the Major League Soccer. On Saturday, here's the list of your leagues. Belgium, Eredivisie, Championship, Bundesliga, Bundesliga B, La Liga, Women's Tournament Quarters, Men's Tournament Round of 16, Fox Soccer Plus, Serie B, and the league we don't talk about, Golazo Network, Brasileiro, Serie A doubleheader. Paramount Plus, 4 matches at 4 o'clock in the Argentine Primera, doubleheader in the Brazilian Brasileiro, tripleheader Serie A, Europa Conference League, Maccabi Tel Aviv and Zorya Luhansk at 10:30, and Peacock 5 matches all day long, 7:30 and 4 at 10, and that gets you through your day. We got through the day, and we'll be back at it again on Monday. Once again, later today, Prem and Proper, and we'll get you ready for the weekend when it comes to the Premier League with hearing from coaches, get you ready, juice boxes, and all that kind of stuff. That's coming out later this afternoon. Back at it again on Monday. We'll talk MLS playoffs. We'll talk everything else that's going on, and we'll get you ready for the week that will be as we get you ready for the conference finals coming up in Major League Soccer. So thanks for hanging out with us on a Thursday. And we'll be back at it again on Soccer's Morning Show again, Monday morning, 9:05. Thanks for watching however you are doing so, whether it is on Twitch, whether it is on the YouTube channel, and whether it is on the 280-character app. However you watch us every morning, and if you listen to us on Spreaker, then thanks for doing that in the SDH app. So we'll be back at it again before you know it. For everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. For Jarrett, for Nick, and Jason, happy Thanksgiving, happy Black Friday. May your shopping not smoke your ATM and your Visa cards. Make sure that you have some left over for Cyber Monday. Shop local if you can. Helps out all the local businesses. So for everybody here at SDH, Mucho Platial, play it safe. Back at it again, 9:05 in the morning. And since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. Be back at it again Monday morning. Mucho Platial.